The chilling tale unfolded on a birthday, a day meant for joy, yet forever stained by the arrival of a single cursed object. It was a gift from her closest friend, Lai Mong, an instant camera. In this life, the first thing she did was take it along with rolls of film, straight to the zoo, capturing images of monkeys, wild boars, and bears, each click a silent defiance. But in the life before a chilling premonition of the tragedy to come, that very same camera, presented with feigned warmth, had been embraced with naive joy. She had used it to capture her beloved family, her mother, her father, their smiles preserved in ephemeral prints. A mere week later, fate, or perhaps something far more sinister, had intervened. Her mother tragically had perished in a devastating car accident. Her father, in swift succession, suffered a sudden crippling stroke. Though his life was spared by desperate hospital efforts, he was left half paralyzed, bound to a wheelchair. The company she meticulously managed plummeted into chaos, teetering on the precipice of ruin. Within the suffocating span of a single month, her world disintegrated. Her hair, once vibrant, had turned an unnatural white. Her face, once smooth, was now etched with countless wrinkles and angry crimson scars. Her body, ravaged by stress and neglect, swelled into a grotesque obesity. Even her boyfriend Lu Duang, once a source of comfort, turned on her with venomous disdain. He condemned her as a bearer of ill fortune, her bad luck, the cause of her family's devastation, abandoning her in a flurry of disgusted accusations. Desperate, she had sought solace in Lai Mong, pouring out her heart only to stumble upon a horrifying truth. Lai Mong, who had always struggled, now possessed an unexplained fortune, tens of millions of yuan. Her parents, once seemingly perpetually ill and hospital-bound, were now miraculously, unsettlingly robust. This brutal, two-pronged betrayal shattered the last vestiges of her defenses. Drifting through a haze of despair, she had stepped into the path of an oncoming car on her way to the hospital, her life extinguishing in an instant. It was only in death that the chilling truth emerged. The instant camera, the insidious gift from her best friend, was the root of all her suffering. And with a fresh wave of agony, she knew Li Mong and Lu Duang had been entwined in a secret, twisted affair all along.
Then, with a gasp, her eyes had opened once more. She was back. Back to the very day of her birthday, the moment Li Mong had presented that cursed camera.
Happy birthday. Lai Mong's voice, sickeningly cheerful, shattered the air. Hey, guess what I got you? Before she could even unclasp her hands. From a silent, desperate prayer, Lai Mong thrust a pink instant camera forward. The sight of that familiar, dread-inducing object confirmed it. She had truly been reborn. In her past life, she had clutched that camera with boundless joy, oblivious that it was a meticulously crafted instrument of her own demise, poised to hurl her into a bottomless abyss. Now, seeing her prolonged, chilling silence, Lai Mong's face flickered with a hint of awkwardness, her voice laced with feigned trepidation. Hey, you don't like my gift. Lu Duang, ever the opportunist, snatched the camera from Lai Mong's grasp with practiced ease. She's our high's best friend. Of course she'd like it. He nudged her arm, a calculating smirk playing on his lips. Right. A cold, bitter laugh escaped her lips as she looked at the two treacherous figures before her, a venomous duo. She took the camera. Meng, a gift from you. Of course I love it. She paused deliberately, allowing a ripple of tension to seize them both. They stiffened their faces, a mask of fear that she might reject their insidious offering. It's just, I know your parents are both in the hospital right now, and things are tight for you financially. Perhaps you should take it back. She held the camera out to Li Mong. Lai Mong recoiled as if from a cursed artifact. Hi, you've helped me so much before. It's just a small gift. Please take it. She then frantically produced a stack of film, blinking innocently. Look, I even bought the film. You just need to use it. Lu Duang chimed in, echoing the deceit. This is a gift Li Mong chose specifically for you. It's even pink, your favorite color. Don't be so polite, just accept it. She nodded, a subtle, almost imperceptible smirk touching her lips. Then, with deliberate speed, she raised the camera, aiming it directly at Lu Duang. All right then, I'll take your picture first. Let's see how it looks. Lu Duang's face instantly drained of color. He threw his hands up, a panicked shriek escaping him. No, no, don't. Hi, this camera is a gift from Li Mong. The first shot must be for you. Lai Mong, equally flustered, tugged at her sleeve, feigning indignation. This is my gift to you. Why would you take his picture? The first picture absolutely must be a family photo of you with your parents. Or I'll be angry. Watching their perfectly synchronized charade, she let out a strained chuckle. She put the camera away. All right. I'll send you the photos when I'm done. Just like the last life. She had believed their lies, rushed home, and excitedly snapped a family photo with her parents. Then, brimming with innocent joy, she'd taken a pile of selfies and sent them to Lai Mong. And then, precisely 1 week later, the world had shattered. Her mother, on her way to the market, had been struck down by a reckless driver who, drowsy and distracted, had fallen asleep at the wheel. The driver was apprehended on the spot. But her mother lay there on the cold, unforgiving ground of the market, her life ebbing away. Before the ambulance could even arrive, she took her last gasping breath. Before the raw, searing pain of her mother's loss could even begin to subside, a new horror unfolded. Her father, without warning, suffered a catastrophic stroke. Miraculously, she found him in time, rushed him to the hospital, saving his life. But he was condemned to a wheelchair, his lower body a useless, lifeless burden. Just when she thought the torment couldn't deepen, catastrophe piled upon catastrophe. That very evening, a call from her company delivered a crippling blow. A critical contract had suffered a severe, unexplained flaw, not only incurring astronomical losses, but also facing tens of millions in compensation claims. The news struck her like a bolt of lightning, her mind reeling, unable to process the sheer scale of the disaster. She immediately declared the company bankrupt. That night, she didn't sleep a wink. By dawn, her hair was a stark, unnatural white, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, as if she had aged decades in a single night. The days that followed were a surreal nightmare. Her body ballooned uncontrollably, gaining weight at a terrifying speed. And then the blemishes. Ugly red inflamed scars erupted all over her face and body. It was then, amidst this spiraling decay, that Lu Duang called. Hearing his familiar voice on the other end of the line, tears burst forth, an uncontrolled torrent of pain. She began to sob, recounting the recent horrors. But before she could even finish a sentence, he cut her off with impatient disdain. Gu, he. Why are you telling me all this? He sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. Your mother died a brutal death. Your father's in the hospital, practically a living corpse. And your company is bankrupt. Have you ever considered it's all because of you? Perhaps it's your destiny to be cursed to destroy everyone you touch. She choked on her tears, unable to utter a single word. But Lu Duang was relentless. Look at yourself now. He spat, his voice laced with pure revulsion. That face, it makes me sick to look at you. Let's just break up. You're cursed, you'd probably kill off everyone in your own family. I'm afraid if I stay with you, I'll end up dead too. With a cold finality, he hung up, blocking her number, her messages, her social media, every single avenue of contact. She was left adrift in a sea of despair, a gnawing sense that something was deeply wrong, but no idea what. Then she called Lai Mong a video call, and there it was. Lai Mong's face, once marred by pitted scars, was now impossibly smooth, flawless. Lai Mong covered her mouth, feigning shyness. Hi, why have you let yourself go like this? Look at me. A woman must take care of herself. As Lai Mong spoke, a fleeting shadow behind her caught her eye. It was her parents. The very parents who were supposed to be perpetually confined to a hospital bed. Her eyes widened in disbelief, a stunned gasp escaping her. Wait, aren't your parents still in the hospital for treatment? Are they discharged? Before her suspicion could fully form, Lai Meng's face contorted, her expression hardening into furious anger, as if a raw nerve had been struck. Gu he he. What do you mean by that? You don't want my parents to be discharged. You want them to die in the hospital. Your mouth is truly wicked. Your mother died, your father is a living corpse. No wonder you deserve it. Each word was a poisoned dart piercing her heart. Before she could react, Li Meng ended the call. Her mind froze. Even the act of putting down the phone felt stiff, unnatural. In a daze, she had stepped into the middle of the road. A car, a blur of metal, slammed into her. She died instantly. After her death, those two, Li Meng and Lu Duang, wasted no time. They swiftly announced their wedding. Not only that, but Li Meng brazenly flaunted her newfound wealth across social media, constantly posting pictures of new houses, luxury cars, and sparkling jewelry. Hi, it's time to pay. Aren't you full yet? Lu Duang's voice, like a sharp clap, jolted her back to the present. She realized she had been unconsciously shoveling food into her mouth. Both of them stared at her, puzzled. If you're not full, I'll tell the kitchen to make another bowl of longevity noodles. She managed a strained smile, quickly wiping her mouth. No, I'm full. After paying, Lai Meng made an excuse about needing to go home early. Lu Duang turned to her, feigning awkwardness. How about I drop you off at your company first, then take your best friend home? He emphasized, your best friend, knowing full well her past self would have insisted he take Li Meng first. She nodded calmly. You can drop Li Meng off, then head home and rest. I have some urgent matters to take care of back at the company. I already messaged a driver to pick me up while we were eating. Lu Duang's face fell, a hint of disappointment crossing his features. He clutched her hand, leaning in close, feigning reluctance. Oh, really? I was hoping we could have a private dinner tonight. Though he outwardly expressed unwillingness to part, the subtle flicker of triumph in his eyes did not escape her notice. A few more days, she said, pulling away gently. When I'm less busy, we can go on a date. Just as the words left her lips, the car she had called pulled up precisely on cue. She smoothly entered. Li Meng, I'm going ahead. Let Lu Duang take you home, don't be shy. The moment she closed the car window, she caught a glimpse of Li Meng, intimately pulling Lu Duang's arm. Her driver handed her an instant camera, still in its box. Miss, your item has been purchased. She looked down at the two identical cameras in her hand, a faint smile playing on her lips. To the zoo, she murmured. It'll be a good opportunity to walk around and try out the camera my kind best friend gave me. At the zoo, her first stop was the monkey enclosure. She snapped a series of excited photos. Then, spotting a large bear and a wild boar, she captured a few artistic portraits of them as well. Just as she was about to leave, Li Meng's message arrived. Hi, have you used that camera yet? Taken any pictures? Yes, she replied. The effect is quite good. Immediately after, Lai Meng sent a voice message. Good to hear, it's easy to use. You can also use it to take pictures of your parents too. At the end of the recording, she clearly heard the distinct sound of a man panting. It seemed the two of them couldn't wait any longer. She looked at the three photos in her hand. The animals in the pictures were startlingly lifelike, as if they would leap from the prints at any second. She smiled, her voice light. All right, let's go. Back to the company. Even though she had been reborn, the events of her past life had left an indelible scar, a shadow too vast to simply dismiss. Her first act upon arriving home was to schedule comprehensive health checkups for her parents and hire additional household help. Her mother, ever practical, seemed displeased. Why spend money on these unnecessary things? Your father and I are fine. She quickly reassured them, a gentle smile on her face. It's nothing, I just want you two to be a little less tired. After comforting her parents, she plunged into a meticulous review of every single contract at her company, searching for any hidden errors. She worked late into the night, another sleepless night, but fate this time was on her side. She meticulously checked every contract, finding not a single flaw. Simultaneously, the hospital delivered her parents' health reports. Both were in perfect, robust health. Holding those two reports in her hand, Her heart, which had been a tight knot of anxiety, finally loosened. She could finally rest, truly, deeply sleep. Yet, when she awoke again, her phone was ablaze with missed calls, dozens of them, from both Lai Mong and Lu Duong. Not only that, but each had sent her a barrage of messages. Lai Mong claimed her father had suffered a sudden severe illness, requiring emergency surgery and desperately needed money. Lu Duong messaged that Li Mong was looking for her, urging her to call back immediately. She calmly dialed Lai Mong. The moment the call connected, Lai Mong's choked voice spilled through the receiver. Hi, where are you? I've been trying to reach you. I was so worried. She murmured, feigning sleepiness. Just woke up. What's wrong? Why are you crying? Li Mong took a shaky breath, her voice pleading. Can you come to the hospital? I really need you right now. In the past, she would have dropped everything, rushed to Lai Mong's side without a second thought. Now, a faint sardonic curve touched her lips. All right, she replied softly. Let me finish what I'm doing first, then I'll come over. And so she worked, and she waited, letting time stretch until evening. By the time she arrived at the hospital, Lai Mong's father's surgery was long over. The moment Lai Mong saw her, a barbed remark escaped her lips. Gu total so dedicated to your work, aren't you? She immediately strode forward, embracing Li Mong, offering a feigned apology. My company had a small contract issue. That's why I couldn't come earlier. Lai Mong's eyes gleamed, her voice quickening with a flicker of excitement. Are you serious? Then, as if realizing her misstep, she quickly changed her tone. So what's the situation now? Is it resolved? She shook her head, a helpless sigh. Not yet. She then feigned concern. Oh, by the way, how's your father's condition? Li Mong frowned slightly. The doctor said it's not too serious, but he still needs to stay for observation for a while. But I think he'll be discharged soon. Lai Mong's eyes sparkled with a mixture of hope and a faint, unsettling resentment as she looked at her. That's good then. She murmured a gentle sigh. But deep within, she thought, things will not go as you wish. The following week, she was swamped with work, carefully avoiding any contact with Lu Duong. He, of course, didn't seem to mind. With her out of the way, he had more freedom to secretly meet Li Mong. Until one day, Li Mong posted a single line on her social media. Though she deleted it almost instantly, she caught it. Help, my family is suddenly covered in hair. What do I do? Accompanying it was a photo of her parents. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes turning cold. It was time to visit the hospital. She arrived precisely at 10:00 a.m. when the hospital was bustling with peak hour activity. Having notified Lai Mong in advance, Lai Mong herself came to the main entrance to greet her. Hi, you came empty-handed this time. Lai Mong's gaze held a hint of displeasure. She offered a strained laugh. I did buy something, but I forgot it at the office. I'll bring it over in a few days, all right. Lai Mong's expression softened slightly. She followed Lai Mong inside, and it was then that she truly paid attention to the two figures lying in the hospital beds. A gasp caught in her throat. Their bodies had undergone a grotesque transformation. Li Mong's father was terrifyingly emaciated, like a shrunken monkey. He constantly scratched his head and ears, his body covered in fine yellowish hair. One had to look closely to even see it. Lai Mong's mother, however, was even more absurd. For some inexplicable reason, her nostrils had grotesquely widened. Her body was covered in thick, coarse, dark brown fur, like the bristles of a wild boar. Noticing her prolonged stare at her parents, Li Mong showed a flicker of embarrassment. The doctors can't find the cause. They've done full checkups, but found nothing. My dad's skin and bones, and my mom's bloated like a balloon. The very next second, Lai Mong seemed to remember something, turning to her with alarm in her voice. Have your parents had anything unusual recently? Meeting Lai Mong's urgent gaze, she nodded slightly. Lately, they've been complaining of headaches a lot, and my dad has clearly lost weight. Hearing this, Lai Mong visibly relaxed, sighing in relief. Good thing it's not too serious. With that, Lai Mong turned to give water to the two figures in the beds. She watched Lai Mong's retreating back. Though Lai Mong's face hadn't changed much, her physique was alarmingly different. Broad shoulders, a thick back, an unnaturally muscular build. The phrase brawny flashed in her mind, and she couldn't help but let out a small, quiet laugh. Lai Mong turned, looking at her with slight suspicion, her hand instinctively touching her cheek. What are you laughing at? What? She quickly shook her head. Nothing. I just feel like your skin has gotten so much better lately. Li Mong's face instantly bloomed into a radiant smile. She stared intently at her for a long moment, then suddenly pouted. Why hasn't your face changed at all? Oh, right, hi, last time I asked you to take pictures of your parents? Lai Mong's eyes lit up. Where are the photos? Let me see. She feigned a slight awkwardness, retrieving the stack of photos from her bag. I haven't had a chance to tell you. I've been so busy these past few days, I haven't been home yet. But I went to the zoo earlier and took 3 pictures. Want to see? Lai Mong snatched the photos from her hand. When she saw the animals in the pictures, Lai Mong's face went ashen, her body trembling with incandescent rage. She could not control the furious shaking that seized her. You're insane. The camera I gave you. Why did you use it to photograph these beasts? Go home immediately and take a family photo for me. Send it to me right now. Lai Mong was completely out of control, her hair even fluttering with the force of her trembling. What do you mean I'm insane? She retorted, feigning confusion. Meng, you gave me this camera. Am I only allowed to photograph myself and my parents? Li Mong, realizing her slip, panicked. She quickly tried to backtrack. No, that's not what I meant. She stared at Li Mong, her gaze cold and sharp, as if it could pierce straight through Lai Mong's soul. Lai Mong licked her lips, her face betraying obvious regret as she lowered her head and apologized. Hi, whatever gift I give you, you can photograph whatever you like. It's just that I really wanted to see a picture of your whole family. I just wanted to see it, and that film is very expensive. I know you can afford to buy a lot, but the film I gave you, I just hoped it would capture images of you with your parents. She watched Lai Mong intently. From sheer tension, Lai Mong's forehead was beaded with a thin layer of cold sweat, her entire body trembling uncontrollably. Finally, she uttered a single chillingly indifferent word. Okay, just that one word. Yet Lai Mong's entire body seemed to deflate in relief, visibly relaxing. Hi, just now. Just now, I was just so worried. Did I scare you? Lai Mong observed her curiously from head to toe. She shook her head slightly. It's all right. After that, she stayed in the hospital for a little while longer, before leaving and going straight home. She took out the instant camera she had ordered her driver to buy. She took several photos of her parents, then herself, and finally group shots of all 3 of them. To fully reassure Lai Mong, she even recorded the entire process on video. Then she sent everything, photos and video, to Lai Mong. Lai Mong replied instantly. Wonderful, hi, I knew it. You're the one who treats me best. I hope your parents and you are always healthy. A winking emoji. She couldn't help but let out a soft laugh at the message. Then she booked 2 plane tickets for her parents. In a few days, I'll be busy with some company matters. Mom, Dad, take this opportunity to go on a trip abroad, all right? I'll arrange for my friend to pick you up at the airport. Initially, her parents protested. Hi, is something going on with you lately? You seem strange. She wanted to explain, but didn't know where to begin. So she deflected. I just want you both to relax a bit, get some fresh air, see some new sights. With the words spoken and the tickets booked, her parents, though still suspicious, finally nodded in acceptance. The next morning, she drove them to the airport. Just then, Lu Duang messaged. Hi, long time no see. Don't you miss me? She suppressed a wave of nausea, replying coldly. Company's busy. She knew that since Lu Duang and Li Mong had become entangled, he had never once initiated contact with her, save for a few rare specific occasions. Typically, when he needed money. This sudden overture could only mean one thing. Li Mong no longer held his interest. And why would she? Her gaze fell upon the photograph of the enormous bear, a slight curl of her lips. Li Mong's silhouette yesterday had already strikingly resembled that monstrous bear. She dared not imagine what Li Mong would look like in a few more days. After dismissing Lu Duang, she accidentally let slip a crucial piece of information. My company is on the verge of bankruptcy, so I have no time for dating now. To make the act even more convincing, she instructed her PR department to leak a few fabricated rumors. As expected, Lu Duang's mood instantly brightened upon hearing the news, a palpable sense of relief washing over him. However, only a few days later, she unexpectedly received a call from Li Mong. Her voice on the other end was utterly shattered, bordering on hysterical. Hi, how is my uncle, your father, recently? The question threw her off, feigning confusion. My uncle isn't home. I haven't seen him for a few days. Why, what happened? The moment the words left her mouth, a heart-wrenching sob echoed through the line. Hi, my father, he's dead. Lai Meng choked out, pleading. Can you come to the hospital? Her heart lurched. Though she had anticipated this day confronting, it still felt surreal. All right, she replied, concise. Before leaving the house, she carefully applied a thick layer of foundation, even deliberately drawing dark circles under her eyes, creating a gaunt, sickly appearance. She looked at herself in the mirror, utterly satisfied with her masterpiece. By the time she arrived at the hospital, it was already late. Li Meng, upon seeing her, immediately tried to stand, but gasped several times. Collapsing back into her seat, a look of embarrassment flashing across her face. Hi, you finally came. The words had barely left her lips before tears streamed down her face. She looked at Lai Meng's terribly bloated, swollen body, a strange sense of unholy satisfaction rising within her. She carefully stepped closer, suddenly assailed by a pungent, unpleasant odor. The stench emanated from a woman kneeling beside Li Meng's father's lifeless body, and she instantly recognized her Lai Meng's mother. Li Meng's mother's body was markedly distended. Not only that, but her mouth was perpetually half open. The strong, foul odor was emanating directly from her mouth. Noticing her hand instinctively moving to cover her nose, Lai Meng's expression immediately turned grim. Hi, where have your parents gone? To maintain the charade, she forced herself to keep her voice choked with tears. I haven't been able to contact them all day. I don't know where they are. If I don't hear anything soon, I plan to call the police. Hearing this, the suspicion in Li Meng's eyes lessened somewhat. She seized the opportunity, tilting her head to the side, finally paying attention to the man lying in the hospital bed. In just a few days, he had wasted away to nothing, a mere skeleton skin clinging to bone, a horrifying spectacle. Lai Meng stood beside her, sighing mournfully. My father ate normally. He was even very healthy, but for some reason, his weight just plummeted uncontrollably. The doctor said all his readings were normal. They couldn't even find the cause of his illness. Before she could say more, Lai Meng burst into tears again. She gently patted Lai Meng's shoulder. Control your grief. If you need anything, just call me. That afternoon, Li Meng had her father cremated, then immediately set about preparing for the funeral. Lu Duang, of course, was present. However, the moment his eyes fell upon Li Meng, a torrent of disgust threatened to spill forth. But they were now inextricably linked, in it together. So no matter how repulsive she seemed, he had no choice but to swallow his revulsion and help her manage the proceedings. By evening, the funeral hall was set up. Lai Meng did not wear mourning clothes, for not a single one would fit her. She was now so corpulent that even a few steps left her breathless. Not only that, but she developed a particular insatiable craving for meat. During dinner, the sight of her savagely devouring piece after piece almost made her gag. Even Lu Duang couldn't help but sneer. Look at yourself. You're this fat and you're still eating. Li Meng looked genuinely aggrieved. If I don't eat, I get so hungry. I wish I could stop, you know. She stood by, watching the scene with sadistic amusement. Eat, Meng Meng. I think you look even prettier now that you've gained weight and your face has no more acne. Of course, there was no acne. It was all oil. The excess fat stretched her facial skin taut, and with so much oil, minor impurities simply couldn't settle on her skin. Laimong nodded, taking the compliment seriously, then surreptitiously glanced at Lu Duang. Unable to resist, she stuffed another large piece of meat into her mouth. Sharing her appetite was her mother. The funeral, rather than a somber occasion for mourning, felt more like a macabre live streaming event, or perhaps more accurately, a grotesque buffet for mother and daughter. She turned her gaze, suddenly falling upon the memorial photo above the coffin. A shiver ran through her, a prickling sensation of unease. She immediately made an excuse. My company has an urgent matter to handle right now. I have to go. Lu Duang, please stay and help. If Meng Meng needs anything, you'll be here to assist. Without a moment's hesitation, she turned and left abruptly. She left them standing there, facing each other wordless. She didn't return to the company. Instead, she went home. Not long after lying down, she succumbed to sleep. Lately, her nerves had been stretched taut, a constant fear that one wrong step would plunge her back into the hell of her past life. Mercifully, everything until this point remained within her control. Yet she hadn't anticipated that she would barely be asleep for half an hour before her phone rang jarringly. It was Lu Duang. Hi, come here quickly. Meng's mother has gone mad. Immediately after he sent her a video. The content of the clip was indeed extraordinary. In the video, Lai Meng's mother was prostrate on the ground, gnawing on a live sparrow. Those around her were in a state of utter panic, screaming and scattering. But what truly captivated her wasn't the chaotic scene, but Lai Meng, standing in the corner, her eyes gleaming, swallowing with agitated intensity. When she arrived, the police were already present. They quickly cordoned off the area and conducted a preliminary cleanup of the scene. Lai Meng's mother was now curled up in a corner, completely unresponsive to the world around her. No matter who called her name, she remained silent. Not only that, but she wouldn't let anyone near her, not even Lai Meng. Her lips were smeared with bird feathers. Fresh blood stained her mouth and hands, and she muttered strange, incomprehensible phrases. According to Lai Meng, her mother's condition required immediate hospitalization. But ironically, the police had arrived first. A trembling complainant, arm outstretched, cried out in outrage. She ate the little parrot I've raised for 8 years. His horror was laced with furious demand for compensation. I raised that parrot for 8 years. For 8 years, it was like family to me. And in the blink of an eye, she ate it alive right in front of me. The police, attempting to mediate, suggested Lai Meng offer compensation. Lai Meng immediately turned to her eyes pleading. Hi, you know my parents have been in the hospital. I don't have a single cent left. Can you lend me some money? She looked at her with the hopeful, desperate eyes of a puppy. Regrettably, she merely shrugged her face, a mask of helplessness. My company's having issues. All my liquid funds are completely tied up. Right now, I only have a little over 100 yuan on me. Not even enough for a condolence gift, let alone anything else. In truth, since Lai Meng's parents' troubles began, she had already spent over 2 million helping her. At the time, she'd thought they were friends, and she'd tried to help as much as possible. When Lai Meng's parents were first hospitalized, she even sacrificed her work time rushing to the hospital to care for them both alongside Lai Meng. But what chilled her to the core was realizing that all her devoted care had only earned her the ingratitude of 3 ungrateful wolves. She had generously extended her hand to help a friend in need, but in their eyes, her kindness was merely a blatant display of wealth. The moment she finished speaking, the parrot owner grew even more agitated. You really have no money to compensate me. Police, aren't you going to do something about this? My family member was eaten by her mother, and she says she has no money. Seeing the situation escalate, she quickly adopted a soothing tone. Sir, please don't get agitated. Just a moment. Then her gaze settled on Lu Duang. Perhaps her gaze was too direct, for he, too, seemed to grow tense, restless. Lu Duang, she said, a faint smile on her lips. Do you have any money on you? This is when Meng truly needs it. We're friends. We should help her out. As if suddenly enlightened, Lai Mong frantically grabbed Lu Duang's arm. Lend me some first, I'll definitely pay you back. Lu Duang initially hesitated, his face contorting in an unwilling grimace. But Lai Mong's eyes suddenly turned cold and terrifying. She leaned close to his ear, her voice a low, dangerous whisper. If you don't, then I'll tell Hai everything about us. Lu Duang's face went pale. He stammered frantically. No, don't. Hai isn't doing well herself right now. If you say anything, won't all our plans be ruined? Also, this grotesque farce finally concluded when Lai Mong was forced to pay 50,000 RN yuan in compensation. The crowd dispersed, leaving only a few people. Just as they were about to leave, she saw Lai Mong's mother holding a live worm and stuffing it into her mouth. Lai Mong stamped her foot in fury. Mom, what are you doing? But her mother, now completely deranged, no longer recognized her own daughter. Drooling, she stared blankly at Lai Mong, her eyes vacant. Hungry, I want to eat. Lai Mong couldn't hold back her tears. They flowed freely. Mom, the funeral was a hasty makeshift affair. It was only natural. Li Mong alone had to care for her out-of-control mother and manage all the funeral arrangements. How could one person possibly handle it all? After the funeral concluded, Lai Mong decided to admit her mother to a psychiatric hospital. In truth, just before the admission, she had taken her mother for a full physical checkup at the general hospital. But the doctor's results stated that all her readings were normal with no problems. Despite the results, all of them had witnessed with their own eyes the undeniable abnormalities of Lai Mong's mother. It could not possibly be called normal. After admitting her mother, Li Mong concocted a new scheme, stubbornly insisting on visiting her company. Lately, you keep using work as an excuse not to see me. I want to see with my own eyes what exactly you're so busy with. She said this, her voice as cloyingly sweet as it used to be. But now all she felt was profound nausea. In the past, she might have embraced her heartbroken and immediately agreed. Now she only felt a mocking, bitter amusement. No, she said calmly, the company is about to declare bankruptcy. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. As she spoke, she handed Lai Mong a stack of fabricated contracts she had prepared in advance. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. Lai Mong took the papers, reading them intently for a long time. It wasn't until she saw the enormous compensation figure on the fake contract that she visibly relaxed, a clear, undisguised look of relief in her eyes. But just as Lai Mong was about to hand the phone back to her, Lu Duang's message suddenly flashed on the screen. Hi, that idiot Lai Mong is finally done for. She feigned a slight fluster, her eyes unconsciously meeting Li Mong's. In Li Mong's gaze, a burning hatred, almost undisguised, swelled. What does that mean? Li Mong's voice was frigid. She pretended ignorance. I don't understand either. Lu Duang truly talks nonsense. Immediately after the next message arrived. Hi. It's a good thing I convinced you to take a few pictures at the zoo that day. Now just wait. Lai Mong is definitely finished. Each message that appeared caused the atmosphere to grow suffocating. Li Mong looked at her, her eyes filled with both disappointment and hurt. That day you said Lu Duang told you to take test photos at the zoo? She blinked several times, then nodded heavily. Yes, he insisted I go to the zoo that day, and said the first picture had to be of animals. I didn't understand why he said that, but I did it anyway. As the words left her lips, Li Mong's tears could no longer be contained. She burst into heart-wrenching sobs, utterly broken. Shi Gu Hai rushed forward, feigning awkward comfort. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying like this? But the look in Li Mong's eyes stopped her midair. It was pure hatred, undiluted hatred. After a long moment, Lai Mong gasped heavily, grinding her teeth. Lu Duang is a scumbag. Then she lifted her head, her eyes still brimming with tears. Hi, where's the camera I gave you? She froze slightly, then stammered. At home. Why? She asked, feigning incomprehension. Lai Mong took a deep breath, then spoke with grave seriousness. go home immediately and smash that camera. Remember, you absolutely must smash it. With that, she frantically hailed a taxi. I have to go home. I'll call you when I'm done. Watching Lai Mong's retreating figure, her entire body felt a profound, complete sense of release. She lowered her head and sent a text. It's done. No need to send any more. The recipient, Lu Duang. Then she opened her desk drawer. Inside lay the instant camera Lai Mong had given her. The messages Lai Mong had just seen, the ones that had driven her to fury, despair, and ultimately losing control, had all been meticulously orchestrated by her. She knew Lai Mong too well, foolish, yet vicious. And precisely because of that, she eagerly anticipated watching these two vile creatures tear each other apart. She picked up the camera, her gaze drifting into memory. So all it took was smashing this machine, and everything would revert to normal. What a bitter irony that in her previous life, she had been utterly ignorant of this camera's secret. But perhaps, even if she had known, she might have been too unwilling to believe that everything was a conspiracy meticulously planned by her best friend and her boyfriend. But now she simply had to wait in quiet anticipation. At the same time, her parents called reporting that their flight would arrive at 3:00 a.m. tonight. All right, she confirmed. I'll have Uncle Wang pick you up at the airport then. In the afternoon, she received an unexpected call from the police requesting her presence at the station. At the scene to identify the body, she was alone. Is this Lu Duang? She asked and quietly nodded. Lu Duang's neck was ripped open, as if savaged by a ferocious wild beast. From the police's account, she finally learned the true cause of his death. Li Mong had come looking for him. Before Lu Duang could even utter a word of explanation, Li Mong had pounced, pinning him to the ground, tearing at him with crazed bites. In his struggle, Lu Duang had seized a nearby ashtray and brutally struck Li Mong's head. But instead of losing consciousness, Li Mong had only become even more frenzied. Lu Duang died from massive blood loss, the police officer stated. She merely nodded, then requested to see Li Mong. Li Mong sat on the interrogation chair, panting heavily, like a wild animal trapped in a cage. Seeing her, Li Mong's eyes immediately welled up. Hi, save me, save me. She let out a cold, chilling laugh. From her pocket, she retrieved the instant camera Li Mong had gifted her. Lai Mong, was this how you intended to harm me? In truth, Lu Duang never betrayed you. You are truly too foolish. Lai Mong's eyes widened, her mouth agape. You said what? She leaned closer, her voice icy. You reap what you sow. Reflect on your actions in there. With that, she turned and left the interrogation room without a single backward glance. Late that night, she shared a steaming hot pot with her parents. After everything they had endured, she cherished these simple moments with them even more. She had also learned to love her parents more completely, more truly. 1 month later, the police reported that Lai Mong had committed suicide. She calmly sipped her tea, her gaze unperturbed, then resumed discussing the contract with her business partner, as if no one had ever vanished from her life.